Bonjour. In today's lesson, we're going to learn about verb conjugation. Mastering verb conjugation is the key to speaking like a native. Even French speakers and natives do struggle with verb tenses and make quite a lot of mistakes. So don't feel bad if you're still struggling with conjugation. We're going to get to it. So first, the French verbs fall under three main categories. The first group, the second group, and the third group. Verbs in the first group end in ER. Verbs in the second group end in IR. Verbs in the third group end in IR, OIR, and RE. So verbs in the first group are called regular verbs. They're called regular verbs and they end in ER. With the exception of the verb aller. Aller has a different conjugation and we'll get to that in a few minutes. However, if the verb ends in ER, it is said to be irregular. So why is it regular? It's regular because it follows the same conjugation pattern. So let's take a look at the verb admirer, to admire. We're going to conjugate the verb admirer in the present tense. So first we have j'admire, tu admires, il, elle, or on admire, nous admirons, vous admirez, and il or elle admire. When an English speaker look at the conjugation in French, they're quite overwhelmed because in English you only have to change an S for the third person. He admires, she admires, it admires. However, in French, everything is different based on the pronoun that's being used. So when I talked about regular verbs, you use the stem of the verb and then you add the corresponding pronoun, the corresponding ending pronoun to it. So say for example you had the verb jouer or parler, they end in ER, you would add the same conjugation pattern. You would take the stem of the verb and go down the list and add the ending based on the pronoun that you're using. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the verb aller, Verb aller, has a different conjugation. Although it ends in ER, I know, throws you off, but it has a different conjugation. So let's conjugate aller. Aller means to go. So first we have je vais, tu vas, il, elle, on va, nous allons, vous allez, ils or elles vont. So I would classify the verb aller, as a highly irregular verb because it's different. The pattern is not the same as the ER verbs. Okay, so it's just a matter of mastering it until you get it right. Now let's talk about verbs in the second group. Verbs in the second group end in IR. They're also regular verbs. They're regular verbs because they follow the same conjugation pattern, the same exact conjugation pattern as a verb that ends in IR. Okay? So the verb finir means to finish. We're going to use this verb as an example, and we're going to conjugate it in the present tense. Verbs in the second group are also called second conjugation verbs. So you will take the IR, you will drop the IR, and add the corresponding subject pronoun ending to the stem of the verb. So to begin, we have je finis, tu finis, il, elle, on finit, nous finissons, vous finissez, ils or elles finissent. So notice the pattern for second group verbs are not the same as first group verbs. Okay? Je and tu, you have a IS at the end. Il, elle, on finit, there's a IT. And then nous finissons, ONS. Vous finissez, EZ, easy. And for the last third person plural, il ou elle finissent. There's two S and ENT at the end. So for example, if you had another verb that ends in IR, agir, to act, dormir, to sleep, they would follow the same pattern as the verb finir. So now let's talk about verbs in the third group. Verbs in the third group are called irregular verbs because they don't follow the same conjugation pattern. Now you want to exclude verbs from the first group and verbs from the second group from this group, from the third group. Okay? Most verbs in the third group end in RE or OIR. Sometimes you'll have endings like IR also in that group. Okay? So let's look at some conjugation with verbs in the third group. So we're going to use the verb dire. Dire means to say. Okay? So the first we have je dis, tu dis, il ou elle ou on dit, nous disons, vous dites, ils ou elles disent. So as you notice, the pattern is not the same as a ER verb, okay? Je dis, tu dis, there's IS, il ou elle ou on dit, IT, nous disons, ONS, and now you have vous, vous dites, ITES, and ils disent, ENT. So it looks a little different. Let's use another verb for the third group, a verb that ends in OIR. We'll pick the verb vouloir. Vouloir means to want. Okay? So in the first we have je veux, tu veux, il ou elle ou on veut, nous voulons, vous voulez, ils, elles veulent. So now again, as you see with the third group, every single pronoun and the verb endings are different. Okay, with veux, je veux, tu veux, there's a X. And the third person singular, there is a T at the end. Nous voulons, ONS. Vous voulez, EZ. And ils veulent or elles veulent, there's an ENT at the end. So again, with French verbs, there's a lot of conjugation, there's a lot of different tenses. Don't beat yourself up about it. It's going to come with memorization. So just take your time and, just take it one day at a time. And eventually you will memorize each one. So now let's talk about on. The first thing to understand about on, it's always going to take a third person singular verb form. Always, always. Now, on has two different meanings. It can mean we, and it can also take an impersonal, unspecific subject pronoun. So it's not the same as the it in English, that means a thing or an animal. It's totally different. So let's look at some examples. So in the first example, we're going to look at how on is used as we. So in this sentence, we have Jean et moi, on est content. John and I, we are happy. So here we're using on to mean we. So on is very much used nowadays in French in everyday conversation. You could also say nous. Nous is very much used as well. However, it's used a little bit more formally or in writing context. Okay, so on and nous are fine to use. Just know that when you use on, it's more conversational. So in the second example of using on, we'll use the sentence on peut dire qu'il a raison. On peut dire qu'il a raison, meaning you could say he's right. So this on, this you that we're using, it's not a particular you, but it's an unspecific you. Okay? It doesn't really point to a person in particular. Let's take this sentence in English. He had a true love for man, or he had a true love for mankind. So when we use the word man or mankind, we're not talking about a specific man or a specific woman. We're speaking about people in general, about humanity. Okay, so hopefully that was clear to understand the second meaning of on. So I hope this conjugation was not too difficult for you or challenging. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please leave a comment down below and let me know other topics you would like for me to cover or things you would like for me to elaborate on. On se dit à la prochaine. We'll see you soon. Au revoir.